right, as we get started today, we're going to begin with another speed drill. So turn to page 17 in your speed drill booklets. Page 17, looking at the top of the page, speed test 37. Doing speed drill 37. Look at the top row. They want you to have this little 2, this little exponent. What does that mean, class? Squared, but it literally means you do what? Multiply it by itself. Okay, so all of these are things that we multiply, but instead of writing, for instance, 3 times 3, they might have one that says 3 squared. Well, we still do 3 times 3, class, which would be 9. So that top row should be quick and easy for you, as long as you remember to multiply the number by itself. And then we got some subtraction on the bottom row. So just be careful with our borrowing. You have 2.5 minutes for the speed drill. 2.5 minutes for speed drill 37. And you, don't be cheating, Griffin, and you may begin. Stop. All right, pencils down. And if we would exchange with the person behind you, person in the back, bring yours to the front. Exchange with the person behind you, person in the back, bring yours to the front. And sign your name in pen as the grader next to where it says speed test 38. Sign your name next to where it says speed test 38, there at the bottom of speed drill 37. And these are 8 points each. 8 points each. Well, let's go across the top row. I'll read each answer once across the top row, so listen carefully. If it's not what I say, just slash it out with a line. Don't need to write anything else. Number 1 is 25. Number 2, 144. Number 3, 49. Number 4, 36. Number 5, 1. Number 6, 64. And number 7, 10. Next row going across, I'll read each answer twice. Number 8 should be 64. Number 7, did I say 10?
Yeah.
100. Number 7 is 100. It just occurred to me, I think I said 10. I think I was reading the number. 100 is the answer to number 7. Number 8, going across the bottom row, I'll read each answer twice. Wow. Number 8 is 64. 64. Number 9 is 79. 79. Number 10 is 897. 897. Number 11, 6,932. 6,932. And number 12 is $64.26. $64.26. As usual, if they just forgot the dollar sign on 12, don't mark it all wrong, just take off a point. Otherwise, 8 points each. 8 points each. Figure the score to the best of your ability. Put the score in the score blank. Also put the score on the score page for semester 2, next to where it says speed drill 37. So make sure you put the score both places, if you would, please. And return to the owners.
How much
Return to
they
the
missed
owners.
one?
Yeah, so 8 points each. 8 points each. So 92. 100 minus 8. If they just missed one.
You're like, that's just easy.
All right. Any hundreds today? All right. How about 90-somethings? 90-somethings. 80-somethings. All right. Questions? Any questions? All right. Pass those forward if you would, please. Pass those forward if you would, please. All right, Lucian, if you'll take his booklet. Oh, you've got it. Okay, that's his other book he's got out. My turn to get confused by the fact that the books look so much alike. All right, go and take your supplements out if you didn't already. Go and take your financial literacy supplements out. And I asked you last night to read over sales tax. We'll talk a little bit about that here in just a moment. First, a little bit of algebra review from the homework, page 23. You did numbers 1 to 15. Page 23 did numbers 1 through 15. So it shouldn't have been a real long assignment. Some of you got a little carried away and just kept going. You were having so much fun doing algebra. Yeah. You couldn't help yourself. And so on we went.
I realized I went over whenever I got this 19.
All right, so let's go and take a look at these together. Number 1, we wanted to translate from words into algebra the quotient of R and 5. What do you have, Luciana?
R divided by 5.
How did you write divided by?
This is 5 lines.
With a fraction? So R over 5? Good. You could have said R with a little dot / dot 5, but R over 5 is the best way to write that. Question, Corey? You're volunteering for the next one. Number 2, 6 less than Y. All right, Corey?
Y minus 6.
How many had Y minus 6? You remember to flip it. How many said 6 minus Y? It got you again.
I fixed it.
Okay, fixed it. Before he said it, okay. All right, watch out for the little word than, right? Y minus 6. Number 3, 10 exceeded by M. Jalen?
10 plus M.
10 plus M. Exceeded by means it goes beyond. It adds on to, right? So if let's say, Griffin made a 97 on a test, and Joel's grade exceeded his by 1 point. Well, that means we would add 1 to what Griffin made, and that would give us what Joel made, right? 97 plus 1. Well, this is 10 exceeded by M, so 10 plus M. Number 4, the product of 7 and W. Griffin?
7W.
7W. We multiply. Good, not W7. And we don't necessarily need a raised dot or parentheses or anything. We want to be lazy and just mush it together. 7W. But product does mean multiply. It wouldn't be wrong with a raised dot or parentheses. It's just, be lazy. Number 5, the difference of 8 and X, then.
8 divided by X?
Well, difference doesn't mean divide. Difference means...
Subtract?
Right, because you learned, remember, minuend, subtrahend, difference? Right? Remembering back to your elementary days, minuend, subtrahend. The difference is the answer to a subtraction problem, so it tells us to subtract. So we would say...
8 minus X.
Yeah, let's not make it too hard. 8 minus X. There we go. Now, number 6 is a weird one. We don't use this one too often. I'm curious, Joel, if you got it. 12 per A.
12 times it?
No. Elaine, did you do it?
I did not do it.
Did not do it, Jalen?
12 over A.
12 over A. We haven't seen this one yet. It wasn't on a quiz or test. I don't think it was even in your book yet. Per means divide. When you, for instance, miles per hour, right? You see that on the side of the road, right? 55 miles per hour. Well, that means you would do 55 miles every hour. So, for instance, if you're traveling at 55 miles per hour, then 110 miles would take how many hours, class?
2 hours.
2 hours. Because if you divide the 110 miles you travel by 2 hours, it would equal 55 miles per hour. You would divide. We haven't seen that one yet, so if you missed it, don't beat yourself up. Just we got to make a mental note. Per means divide. Number 7, let's go back to Joel. What do you get when you have a 10 plus a negative 4?
6.
6. Number 8, I know you didn't do it, Elaine, but what do you get for number 8?
5.
5. Number 9, Luciana.
Negative 22.
Negative 22. Corey, do number 10 very quickly in your head.
89.
89, great job. Number 11, we have to add the inverse, Jalen. What'd you get?
11.
Number 11, what'd you get?
Negative 6.
Negative 6, great job. We changed that to plus a positive 5. Number 12, add the inverse again. What you got, Griffin?
15.
15. Number 13, Ben.
10.
10. Number 14, Joel.
20.
And number 15, Elaine.
Negative 17.
Negative 17, great job. Questions on the homework? Questions on the homework? Anyone perfect on the homework? You got them all right. Good. Anyone just missed? Maybe the purr got you. Other than that, you were perfect? All right, several of you. There we go. All right, questions on this? All right, look across the page here. Let's get to sales tax here in just a second. First, I want to review some things we've been talking about lately. We talked a lot about a budget in a few lessons ago. What is a budget, Elaine?
A budget is like a thing that helps you not spend money foolishly.
Okay, it's a thing. There's a key word I'm looking for, though. Ben, do you remember? A budget is a... Luciana? A plan, class. What's a budget? A plan. Basically, if you want to be wise with your money, you plan how you spend it. You don't just decide, I want to spend money on this. I want to do that. I want to do that. You plan ahead. How is this money going to be spent so that I can be a good steward of what God's entrusted to me? Now, when we budget, there's really no point in budgeting everything you earn because you don't get everything you earn. The government gets a large portion of that and all kinds of other stuff, which we'll get to a little bit later on in this class. What we really want to budget is the money that's available to us, the money that we actually can spend. Joel, what do we call the money we have available?
Gross pay.
Not gross pay, net pay, but what's the other term as it relates to a budget that I wanted you to know? It's another name for the net pay. Griffin? Start with a D. You got it now, Joel?
Disposable income.
There we go, disposable income. Good, disposable income. And of course we said we want to first of all, class, make sure we give back to God. The tithe and offerings as well, as God lays on your heart to give. And we also want to make sure we put money into, at least 5%, class, into savings, right? Then we talked about buying on time. What's another term that means buying on time? We're going to make the same amount of payment every single month. Buying on time. Do you remember, Corey? Called it blank buying. Elaine? Installment buying, right? Installment buying, because you make it a monthly installment or a monthly payment every single month. So installment buying. And when you buy via what's called installment buying, you're going to take out a special type of loan. Now, the way this loan works is you make your equal monthly payments, right? You're making the installment payments, and your interest is going to get less and less every month. What kind of a loan is financed over time where the interest decreases with every payment you make? It's a blank loan. Kind of a funny word. Starts with an A. Luciana?
Amortized loan.
Really amortized. That was actually really close. Amortized. An amortized loan. If you saw it in a police lineup, you'd get it, right? Class, say that word with me. Amortized. Again. Amortized. An amortized loan allows you to pay over time. Now, when you take out the amortized loan, usually you have to pay a certain amount up front. Usually, if a car costs $20,000, they're not going to let you amortize a loan for $20,000. They want a few grand up front, and then they'll amortize the rest for you. What do we call the upfront payment, Corey? Without looking back, cheaters never prosper. Ben, what do we call the amount you pay right up front? Before they'll let you walk away with the car. They want a certain amount of money. Down payment. There we go. They want a certain amount down. Right? And so sometimes, now, anyone ever seen a car commercial where they say, 0 down? In that case, they are willing to amortize the whole loan. Right? If they're advertising 0 down, pay nothing today, then no payments for 3 months. Okay, that basically they're saying, hey, we won't even make you pay anything up front. We won't make you make any amortized loan payments for 3 months, and then we'll stick you with the payments. But anyway, but those are different things that they may offer. But usually they want a down payment. And then you end up paying, of course, interest, right? They factor in the interest that you pay. What's another name for the interest on an amortized loan? You get a special name for it. And it kind of relates to the fact that installment buying is sometimes called financing something. You ever heard that, like financing a vehicle or financing a house? We offer special financing rates. Okay, so because of that term, the interest on the loan might be called, Elaine?
Finance charge.
A finance charge. There we go, a finance charge. All right, make sure we keep those terms before us, right? Make sure we get those, right? The math, hopefully we're starting to figure out the math on these different things, but make sure you get the terms. Learn your terms so you can be educated on what these things mean. Let's take a look at sales tax. It's the thing we don't like, right? You walk into the store with $5, you see something advertised for $4.99, you don't get a penny back. In fact, you don't even have enough to buy it. How many have had that happen to you maybe when you were younger and you didn't understand sales tax yet? Or you went to the Dollar Tree, back when things were $1, you know, back when Trump was in office. Anyway, but you go to the Dollar Tree when everything used to be $1. You walk in with your dollar bill. No, because you buy one thing and they tell you it's $1.09. Where'd that extra money go? Class, that's called sales tax. Go and read the first paragraph for us, if you would, nice and loud, Corey.
In most states, when a customer makes a purchase, the city, county, and state will charge sales tax, which is a percentage of purchase price that goes to fund local governments. Sales tax revenue helps to fund public education, public transportation,
infrastructure,
police and fire departments, and other local government programs.
Why are we paying sales tax? Well, that's why, right? The public schools need money. Now, they don't need as much as they think they need. They waste most of it, but I digress. Public transportation, okay, so there's, you've got, the buses that run and things like that, and infrastructure, right? Keeping up the roads. The road gets repaved. Oh, it's so nice now that it's repaved, though it's a real pain while they're repaving it. Like River Road, or anyway, and bridges that maybe we need to construct new bridges and just keep things up. Police and fire departments, aren't we thankful for them? Yeah, sales tax and other local government programs. Now, some states don't make you pay tax. There are, I think, 5 states that have no sales tax at all. One of them is Oregon. I know because I traveled to Oregon to see my grandpa years ago, and I bought a pen there. I'd actually, confession time, I'd lost a really fancy pen that my grandpa had given me. It was sterling silver with gold clip and gold tip on it. It was a Cross brand pen, and I'd lost it. I felt really bad. Well, my uncle had given me $50 to spend, and so as we're shopping, I happened to walk past in the mall a Cross pen store. I didn't even know they had stores. I thought I just bought it online. And there's the exact pen that I lost for $40. So I'm like, this is great. Grandpa never has to know. Hopefully he's not watching this video. And Grandpa never has to know I lost that pen. So I bought the replica pen for $40. There was no tax. It was actually $40. I didn't know what to do. I'd never experienced this before. I was so happy. No tax. It was fantastic. But most states charge tax. But there are some states that don't charge tax on what are called essential purchases, like groceries, for instance. Right? For instance, in Florida, where I grew up, you would go to the store and you bought stuff. You would pay tax on, like, for instance, if you bought a new shirt or you bought some shoes, you bought, medicine or whatever, right? That kind of stuff. Okay, you'd pay tax on that, but when you bought food, no tax. I was used to that. Then I moved here, and they tax you on everything. And so I got used to paying tax on everything. Well, I visited my folks several years later after I'd lived here for a little while. And Jalen, just listening right now as you sit up nice and tall. And I went to, my mom was like, hey, I really need blah, blah, blah from the store. Like, oh, I'll run and go get it for you, Mom. So I run to the store, I go get the stuff, and I ring it all up. And there wasn't any tax. And it threw me off because my brain was like, okay, the milk is like $3 a gallon, so okay, there's going to be another 30 cents for that, and then for tax, and then, okay, this is this much. So I kind of had in my mind how much it was going to be. And it was a lot less. I was like, oh, that's right, there's no tax on food here. And everything my mom wanted me to get was groceries. So some states are like that. Not all states are like that. Some also, by the way, have a separate tax rate just for vehicles, right? You think about it, a vehicle. Thousands of dollars, right? Most states have a lower tax rate on cars because it's so expensive. If they charge the usual tax rate, it would just be exorbitant. So they have a lower tax rate usually for vehicles. Look at this. Read about where it says in Columbus, Georgia. Read about Columbus for us, Jalen.
In Columbus, Georgia, there is a 4% county tax on all purchases A 1% special city tax to fund transportation improvements and a 4% state sales tax. I keep going.
Yeah, one more sentence. Actually, finish out the paragraph.
Okay. The latter tax is not charged for food. This means the sales tax on a computer is 9%. The tax on a loaf of bread is 5%.
Actually, stop there for me. All right, so there's three different taxes. There's county tax, that's Muskogee County, 4%. 1% special city tax for public transportation improvements. That was recently voted on, by the way. It used to be 8%, 4 and 4, 4 county, 4 state. There was no city tax. And just a few years ago, the city put it to a vote, and the citizens voted, yeah, we'll pay 1% more to help fund these different improvements we need in town. So that may go away, but for now, right now, there's a 4% county, 1% city, and 4% state sales tax. It says the latter. Ooh, this is the second time we've seen that term. What does latter mean, class? The last thing mentioned. Okay, so when it says the latter is not charged, which one's the latter, class?
State.
The state sales tax. Does everyone see how the state sales tax was the last thing I mentioned? So the state doesn't charge any tax on food. So if you live in Georgia, you'll pay your county tax on everything, including food. If you live in Columbus, we have that city tax on everything, including food. But the state doesn't tax you on food. All right? So, as Jalen read, you buy a computer, for instance, you're paying 4, 1, and 4, which is 9%. Has everyone got that? So in Georgia, you buy non-food, you're paying, at least in Columbus, you're paying 9% tax. But you buy food, it's only the 4 and the 1 special. So it's only class 5% if it's a food purchase. Now, it also says the state of Georgia has a separate sales tax rate of 7% for car purchases. And this is called, notice that term, the title ad valorem tax. Title ad valorem tax. Sounds fancy. Usually you just hear ad valorem. That just means the value of the vehicle you're being charged for. And it's 7% in Georgia, which is kind of high. Look at Phoenix City. Let's see, I've got, I know you live in Phoenix City, right? Griffin, read the Phoenix City paragraph for us.
In Phoenix City, Alabama, there is a 1% county sales tax, 4.775% city tax, and 4% state tax. Alabama recently reduced state tax on groceries to 3%. This means that sales tax on a basketball is 9.75%, but tax on eggs is 8.75%. Alabama charges a 2% sales tax on vehicles, and individual counties and cities may also charge up to 4.75% sales tax on cars.
All right, so Alabama is a great place to buy a car because the state tax is only 2%. Now, each county and city gets to charge their own tax too, potentially. But even with that, it's still going to be cheaper than Georgia, where Georgia just a state tax 7%. So again, you get the idea of how the sales tax works. The government wants a little bit of the pie. Now, you can make the argument, they already charge me deductions every month on my gross pay. So they already take money that I earn, and then they charge me more money when I spend money. And if I invest money, as we'll get to later, they charge on capital gains, like the government's just taking more and more money. Well, we have a lot of government programs that have to be funded. And even with all the money they take, we're still in debt because we spend like crazy. The real problem, the government spends too much. But I digress. Legitimately, there are needs that we have, and those taxes are necessary, I suppose. All right, so how do we find the total cost of an item? Well, figure out the taxes and add the taxes on. How many kind of already knew that, right? You buy something at a store, it says it costs this much, you also know there's tax, you just add the two amounts together. So let's look at the first problem here, and Elaine, read the first problem.
Liam bought a board game from a store in Columbus that cost $24. If the sales tax rate is 9%, how much tax does she have to pay? All
right, now catch in mind, when we say 9%, class, we're talking about 9% of the purchase price. Of the purchase price. Ben, what does of mean? Multiply. So what are we going to have to multiply on number 1? Ben?
24 times 9.
Well, not times 9. Make it a decimal, remember.
Times 0.09.
There we go. 24 times 0.09. How much tax does Elaine have to pay for this board game? What you got there, Ben?
$2.16.
There we go. How many? $2.16. Now that's just the tax. Number 2 says from number 1, what was Elaine's total for the game? Well, what do we have to do with the 216, class?
Add the 24.
Add the 24. So Elaine, how much do you pay for this board game?
$26.16.
$26.16. Everyone got that? We understand the basic premise of sales tax. Okay, now, from numbers 1 and 2, how much change did Elaine get if she gave the cashier a $10 bill and a $20 bill? Well, let's not make this too hard, class. How much money did she give to cashier? $30. But she only owed how much for the game? $26.16, right? 24 to the store, $2.16 to the government. So how much change can she expect to get, Griffin?
$3.84.
How many got $3.84? All right, we all understand the basics of the taxes there. All right, take a look at number 4 and read this one for us, if you would, Joel.
Mr. and Mrs. Edwards had a meal at a Phoenix City restaurant that cost $58. They had to pay 9.75% sales tax. They also left $15 that was the cost of the meal.
Okay, now, they're paying 3 different things. Do you see it? First of all, class, they're paying for their meal. Then they also have to pay taxes, and they're also going to leave a tip. So you see that you're going to have 3 numbers that need to get added together. Well, we know how much the tip was, right? And we know how much the meal cost. The only thing we have to find before we can add them all together, we have to figure out how much tax there was. So at your seats, let's start there. Figure out how much tax the Russell County, Phoenix City, and the state of Alabama charge for them to eat at this restaurant and have a fun time together. What you got, Corey, for the tax?
$5.70.
Ooh. You're close. You're just a little off. Maybe a rounding error.
$5.66.
Yeah, $5.66. Did you multiply 0.0975 by 58? And it said on the calculator 5.7? Okay, 5 points. Okay, yeah, the 5 bumps the 5 up. Then you bumped 1 too many times. Yeah, $5.66. Okay, now at your seats, figure out how much they actually paid for this meal. So they have a nice time. $58 is a I would say moderately priced restaurant. It's not super expensive, but it's not cheap eats. Let's say that. How much total are they paying for the meal, Joel?
$78.66.
How many had $78.66? We had the tip, the tax, and the total together. All right. Questions on that? Number 5. Read that for us now, if you would, Jalen.
Toothpaste.
Why not?
Jalen's mom gave her some money to buy a tube of toothpaste for $3 and a dozen eggs for $2. She paid 9% tax on the toothpaste and 5% tax on the eggs. What was the total purchase?
All right, so Jalen's mom probably already went to the store once, and she's like, oh, I forgot these 2 things. I don't want to run to the store. Jalen, you run to the store, get these things. Here's some money. All right, so there's 2 different tax rates here, though. Do you see that? Because in Columbus, which is where we're assuming this took place, in Columbus, 9% non-food, 5% food. So we first figure out the non-food tax. 9% on the toothpaste. What is that tax? Anybody?
27 cents.
27 cents.
27 cents. Right, we get 27 cents for the tube of toothpaste. And I had 18 cents. I'm not sure what I just did there. I think I must have forgotten that it was a $3 tube of toothpaste. I'm like, yeah, that's 3.09 times 3 is 27 cents. All right, so fixing that here. And 5% on the eggs. All right, so at your seats, figure out how much you paid tax on the eggs. What you got for that?
15.
Well, it's $2 for the eggs, and then 5% tax on that. So 0.05 times 2?
15 cents.
0.05 times 2.
Oh.
I think you might have mishit. You might have accidentally hit the wrong button. It's only,
1 cent.
well, 0.1 means 0.10, right? So it would be 10 cents. There we go. So we have 27 cents for the toothpaste tax, 10 cents for the egg tax. All right. So how much did she pay just in taxes, class?
$5.30.
No, how much did she pay just for the tax?
37.
37 cents. How much was it for the goods?
$5.
$5. So how much did she spend total, class?
$5.37.
All right, do you see how we calculate 2 separate tax rates? Any questions on the two separate tax rates? All right. Griffin, go and read number 6 for us.
I bought a 6-pack of Gatorade for $7 and a small cooler for $10. I paid 8.75% sales tax on the Gatorade and 9.75% tax on the cooler. What was my total purchase?
All right, so this is related to if you were in Phoenix City, right? You have 1% discount, if you will, on food. So 9.75% tax is normal. They give you a 1% break on food, so 8.75%. Gatorade is considered, quote, food. Does that make sense? It's not food, but it's grocery, might be another way to look at it, okay? So first, let's start with the Gatorade tax. $7 Gatorade, 8.75%. What's the tax just on the Gatorade? Corey?
61 cents.
61 cents. Good. When we round to just the 2 decimal places. All right, now we also get to $10 cooler, and that was 9.75% tax. So now find the tax on the cooler. Okay, make sure we round to the nearest cent. What is the cooler tax going to be? Jalen?
98 cents.
98 cents. All right, do we all, any questions on how to get the 61 cent Gatorade tax and 98 cent cooler tax? We all got that? All right, now then, we have those 2 taxes, plus the Gatorade, plus the cooler. What's the total purchase? He walks into Walmart, gearing up for time of activity. How much does he have to pay for his Gatorade and his cooler? What you got, Griffin?
Wait,
Add the 4 numbers.
I'm trying. $18.59.
There we go. How many at $18.59? There we go. Number 7, Michael's not here. We miss you, Michael, and Bryson, and Kirsten. Anyway, Michael's dad bought a new car for $38,000. Let's assume this is in Georgia, so he has to pay a 7% title tax, or the title ad valorem tax, plus he had to pay a $38 for the license plate, or the tag is what it's called. So if you ever hear about tax and tag, the tag is the license plate, the vehicle registration. And so $38 for the tag, you pay 7% tax. Well, we got to figure out what 7% tax is. So let's find that first. What is the title ad valorem tax for a $38,000 vehicle in Georgia? Luciana?
2,660 cents. $2,660.
Dollars. There we go, $2,660. How many had that? You multiply 0.07 times the 38 grand. All right? So he pays for the vehicle, he pays the title tax, and he pays the tag. Let's assume he didn't have any interest. So let's just say he was able to pay up front for the vehicle, or for some reason he got special financing, which nowadays nobody does zero interest financing. But let's just suppose that that was done. In some way there was no interest to worry about here. What's the total for the car? What's the total for the car? Corey?
$40,698.
Good. $40,698 is correct. All right, questions on that one? How many got the same answer? All right. Questions on number 7? So you just add that. Okay, but you got it now. Oh, you forgot the $38 tag. That's what it was.
Oh.
Yep, so we had a $38 tag. That's why you were $38 off. All right, so make sure we get all those little numbers. Kind of like on number 4, Ben, we had the tax and the tip was that little extra number we had to work in as well. Well, here we had the tag added in as well. All right, number 8, Ben, read that for us.
My parents bought a new dining room table and chairs for $600 from a store in Columbus, Georgia. Based on given information above, how much money did they also pay to the state of Georgia, Muskogee County, Columbus, Georgia Transportation Fund?
All right, so looking back up at that second paragraph, what percent does Georgia take on purchases, class? 4%. You see how it says 4% state sales tax? So 4% is how much the state of Georgia is going to get from Ben's parents. They want a $600 dining room set, but the state of Georgia wants some money. How much money do they pay just to the state of Georgia? Not looking for the total yet, just the state of Georgia. 4%. What you got there, Ben? How much does the state of Georgia benefit from your parents' decision to buy a new dining room set?
$24.
$24. How many $24 the state of Georgia gets? Okay. Now, look up at the top. Muskogee County. What is the county tax on purchases? 4% also. Okay, so let's not make this too hard. How much does Muskogee County get, class?
$24.
$24 also, okay? And then there's the Columbus, Georgia Transportation Fund, the special tax that's in place right now. Class, that's what percent?
1%.
1%, okay? So how much does Columbus, Georgia get from Ben's parents as well? Corey?
$6.
$6. How many? It's $6. 0.01 times. Okay, so it doesn't ask this, but how much did Ben's parents end up paying? They just want a dining room set. It says $600, but they don't pay $600, class. They pay $654, right? Because Georgia and Muskogee County and Columbus, Georgia all want a piece of the pie. Now, I know that some of you watching, you're like, I don't live in Columbus, Georgia. I don't live in Phoenix City. Well, obviously, you can look up, just Google it, what your state does. Now, California residents, I know we've got a lot of you who watch, you're going to wish you had tax rates like these. But anyway, yeah, anyway, I don't care for these tax rates, but I know it could be a lot worse. Questions on sales tax? Yes, sir.
It's not really a
Yes.
question, but buying a dining room table is highly unlikely.
Well, maybe so. I'm just making up stuff just so we kind of get an idea of how this sales tax works. Again, sales tax is the government getting a percentage of a sale, right? That's what sales tax is all about. For homework this evening, I want you to study over pages 15 to 22. Study over pages 15 to 22. Budgeting, amortized loans, things like that. Study over those, make sure especially the terms, but even glance through the practice problems just briefly. Make sure you're ready to go because we do have a quiz when we come back on Tuesday. Okay, it's an unfortunate spot coming off the 3-day weekend, but we do have a quiz coming up Tuesday, so skim over, maybe Monday evening, skim over pages 15 to 22, refresh your memory a little bit. Also, do page 23, numbers 16 to 22. Page 23. Numbers 16 through 22. So you're going to finish up the homework section. You did the top half last night. You're going to do the bottom half over the weekend. All right. Page 23, 16 to 22. Study over pages 15 to 22. And we'll be ready for a quiz over all this in our next lesson. All right. When the bell rings, you'll be dismissed. Have a wonderful rest of your day.